Hi, I'm Lisa Singer. I am the event editorial manager at Media Post, and this is Insider Summit BTS, where I get to pull back the curtain on some of the most influential women marketers today. Today, I'm speaking with Aarti Mehta, and she is the director of marketing at the Melt Shop. That's a casual restaurant chain and predominantly in the East Coast, correct?
Correct.
So welcome, Aarti. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Lisa, for having me.
Yeah, no, obviously we love to have you at our summits and hear you talking all about the marketing and, everything you guys are doing to really advertise and promote your restaurant. But I wanted to talk to you more about you and your background, obviously. And so this is really the best way to start. But I want to sort of kick it off because if you go to your website, your company's website, the restaurant, one of the slogans is it's what's the comfort food you love? Well, what I want to ask you is what's the thing you do that brings you comfort? So what is the comfort thing that you do? What activity, what that you do each day, or maybe as much as you can when you need that comfort, you need that connection?
Yeah, well, I'm actually really lucky to work in the industry I love because what I do for comfort is cook. So I enjoy the whole process, grocery shopping, recipe research, and then testing. And lately, as I've gotten older and I'm in the process of, family planning and all of that, I've just been trying to get back to my roots of Indian cooking and the food that I grew up on. So I've just been experimenting with a lot of different techniques on how the stuff my mom used to make for me growing up, how I can make it sort of modern day, because she would cook up courses, which I could never do. But so that's really what I find a lot of comfort in.
And I have to ask you because that is another part of what your website says. It's even better than what your mom makes. So are you doing anything that's better than what your mom made?
Uh, you know, we're getting there. My husband and I are testing, and there is a couple of things we've made that I was like, oh, this could be better than my mom's, but we'll never tell her that because we can't.
Still can't do quite like you, mom, right? That's what we said.
You're still the number one, mom.
Has she sampled your food?
Um, Not yet. Growing up, she would make all the Indian cuisine and I would test everything outside of Indian food because I was like, I don't want to eat Indian food, so I'm going to test all this other stuff. But she has not had my Indian food, and I'm actually really scared to show her. It seems very intimidating to me.
Well, especially if you are changing it up, she may not like that.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's great. I actually enjoy experimenting with cooking as well. I don't know if it's my comfort. It's just something I do enjoy doing, but I struggle with it a little. So
Yeah.
I don't go there for comfort. Well, now I just want to get back to when you started out. And I noticed that you started out working in public relations, but one of the companies you represented it's a restaurant called The Melt. Is that first of all, any relation to Melt Shop?
No relation, but funny enough, same story, same timeline. They both, Melt Shop and The Melt, started in 2011, both trying to conquer the grilled cheese melted food market. Melt Shop obviously in the East Coast, The Melt in San Francisco. And The Melt was kind of the first restaurant company to really venture into tech. So it was founded by a tech veteran who created the flip cam, sold it to Cisco, wanted to bring technology to restaurants. So we were doing really cool things. We can make grilled cheeses in 90 seconds. We had the first way of monitoring your app, your order, so you can place an order, watch it, and you can follow it on a digital board. We had QR codes that you just scan your phone right on the counter, and your order would go through. So it's really cool. But ever since then, I have been following the Melt Shop, so we're sort of on the same path, but very different.
Right. Well, obviously, kind of the competition, although, as you said, different coasts, so maybe there's room for both. But what I want to ask you is, as I said, you were on the PR side, and then you went to the Melt. So, first of all, how did that happen? And was that ever in the plan initially? Were you ever thinking, I'm going to be working in restaurants or, quick service restaurants specifically?
It actually wasn't in the plan. So when I started the PR firm, I started as an intern, and I always wanted to go into broadcasting. So I had an internship at a local channel in San Francisco, and I stumbled upon the PR internship, and I took it because that one paid, the other one didn't. And I actually just really enjoyed what I was doing on the PR side. Ended up quitting my internship at the news station because I was like, I'm not passionate. Completely changed everything and went into to restaurants, got to do that for 4 years, learned a lot. And then I realized I really wanted to be on the forefront instead of the back end. The PR firm, you're lucky because you get to work with so many clients, but often your voice isn't heard and you're not the final say. And so to join the Mel, and I was one of the first 10 employees and first marketing hire after our CMO, just gave me that kind of power and the ability to do so much more with one client directly.
Yeah, and I have to ask, so I mean, because I do think starting with a lot of people when they graduate, a lot of they want to go into a major company, or if they want to do reporting, okay, let's go to ABC, NBC. If they want to, they want to go to major corporations, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, which are wonderful companies. We have them many times at our events, but sometimes you get a little bit pigeoned into, they have so many people doing everything else. You can't, as you said, have your hands on all of these different things. So talk about that experience. And is that something you think is added more value to you as you move forward?
Definitely. And I've actually had a lot of conversations at the summits recently with other marketers in the bigger chains like Yum Foods. And the one thing I'm realizing I've been very fortunate is because I'm such a small team, I do a lot where they have so many different people working on sort of the same stuff. And it's, it's a slower process where here I could say, I want to try this product. Here's how we're going to do it. Let's test it. Let's get it out into the market. If it works, great. If it fails, let's fail fast and get out. So that's given me the ability to be like very scrappy and learn a lot. And I touch a lot of things as a marketer for Melt Shop, and we're just a team of 4 at the corporate level. So a lot is just getting done. So that's been the benefit. I do think, I wish I had the resources and the teams that some of these bigger clients do, but I definitely just enjoy the ownership part of what I get to do at Melt Shop.
Right. And would you, in terms of if someone came to you who just graduated and was, looking for advice, would you suggest maybe starting at a smaller place rather than a larger, just because it will give you that kind of, scrappy mentality where you can really learn to do a lot?
Definitely. I would definitely recommend it. And it gives you the opportunity to really figure out what you want. So I touch a lot of different parts of marketing, and I definitely like one part of it more than others. And if somebody's coming in trying to figure out what sort of is their story and their path within marketing, it's a good way to do it with a small company because you're just going to get the opportunity to do so much more.
Right. Now I have to ask you, because I do know, and the industry obviously is definitely changing over the years, but the restaurant industry had predominantly been very male dominated. And I think women were getting in, but finding it difficult to rise up the ladder kind of thing. And as I said, it's changed. Our QSR summit, we see more and more women in leadership positions. But did you ever experience that? And I know, as you said, you're with a smaller company, so you're maybe not quite, you might not feel it as much there, but within the industry, do you see that at all, or have you seen that?
Definitely. I think, the one hurdle I've had in all of the jobs I've had is just sort of finding my voice and having the confidence to speak out as a woman. And, we are a small team. I've been a part of small teams, but they have been heavily male dominated. I have been lucky to find great women colleagues to sort of latch on to and hook together. But I would say, finding my confidence was really difficult. And I think, I had an experience a couple of years ago where I went to, go ask for a promotion that I thought I was deserving of, and I was working really hard. And, there was pushback and it didn't happen to me. And that's when I decided, I walked in the next day, I was like, hey, thank you so much for the opportunity you've given me here. I think it's time for me to move to New York. And that was what caused me to leave California and make the shift. And I still have a great relationship with my boss there, and we've had conversations about it, and we have a good relationship. But I think taking those strides to help my confidence and really believing myself, and then seeing it work out has been great. And I also think that, like, in the past couple of years, the landscape for these conversations has changed so much. Like, you and I are discussing it. I'm discussing it with colleagues, and we're having very honest, vulnerable conversations. I'm also having vulnerable conversations with our founder, who's my boss, to be like, this is the struggle I've had, how do we do this together, and holding him accountable. And, and if I feel a certain way, we've created the space for me to voice it and for him to listen and sort of work through that together, which I don't know I would have felt comfortable doing even 7 years ago. So it's changed a lot. That said, there's still a long way to go, but I think we're making the right strides.
Well, and I mean, first of all, that's amazing that you had the courage just to kind of, all right, I'm not getting what I want or need. Thank you, but bye. And then you move cross country. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. But
Thank you.
what got you to that confidence level, and what made you, as you said, you didn't necessarily have your voice. How did you find your voice and then get you to that level where you could actually be like standing up for yourself in a way that you may not have got another job? It was a very
Yeah.
big risk.
Yeah, I think it's just as cheesy as it sounds, just believing in myself was one, just being like, okay, well, I don't feel good about myself in this position and the fact that I'm not getting this thing. And it was a really hard decision to make. And it was a whole change. And I had been thinking about New York, so I just felt as if it was a sign and doing it. But I also think just again, like stepping outside of my comfort zone and just thinking like, and I'm kind of observing like how would a woman mentor that I admire approach the situation, but also how would a male approach the situation? And not to change myself so much, but like, what can I take from those two and apply it to myself where I feel comfortable, but also like kind of pushing the boundaries a little bit, just to make space for myself. And you learn from some of those situations, and other situations you walk away. And at Melt Shop, I've been really lucky to be like, okay, let's have these discussions and here's what I want. And I think having a team and support system has helped, but it's been a lot of uncomfortableness that I'm still also figuring out. That wherever life takes me next, I'm sure I'm going to struggle with it there, but just sort of adapting and listening and figuring out what works for me and how I can push it a little bit.
Well, I think you're smart when you say you're taking from women mentors, yes, but also from men, and it shouldn't be either or. I mean, women bring certain things to the table that are real assets, that men don't. I mean, there are those differences. And you can say the same, men do the same. They bring their certain. So by learning from both, it shouldn't be an either or. It should be just, okay, what's going to get you to that point, and be open to all people, not just about women mentors, male mentors, but kind of the combination. So I think that's really smart that you're kind of looking at it with that angle.
Yeah, and it's an interesting approach because it is like, to think of that mentality of the like male, just because you see like I've seen some colleagues who've approached a situation so confidently that I'm always like, why can't I approach it with that level of confidence? And maybe it's because, again, the conversation for women in the workplace has just become to the forefront in the past couple of years. And so I think that has collectively helped my conversation, reading articles, talking to more women about it. But I'm always curious as like, certain men just approach situations so confidently. So it's like, why can't I do the same thing? I should be able to do the same thing. So I'm going to do the same thing and going from there.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed is the apologizing. And I know they say that you always hear women do it. And I do it all the time. And it's like, I'll even start an email and I'll be like, I'm sorry to say, or whatever. I'm like, wait, get rid of sorry, but then I feel bad that I don't add the sorry,
Yes.
but I shouldn't really be sorry because it's not something I can control or whatever it may be. But it's just, I think that's just innate in us. And I don't know if you feel that too.
100%. It's so interesting that you say that because I've had so many conversations about the word sorry with other women, and it's just like, why do we like? And I remember seeing there's a great, really funny Amy Schumer skit where it's a panel list of women, and it's moderated by a male, and it's 4 women, and they're just upping the sorry level. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. Can I get water? Oh, I'm so sorry. And then some freak accident happens, and the woman's like, I'm so sorry, my leg just got cut off. And I remember seeing that and just being like, wow, this is so true. Not this extreme, but it's so true. And I remember thinking about that and be like, okay, I'm gonna reword a lot of how I approach it, and even like sorry or just like, oh, I should have thought about this different. It's like, no, I actually want to think like this, and just different ways to approach it.
Yeah, no, it's hard. Like I said, I read an article of something and I'm like, I do that. And I purposely set out to not do it and I've been failing so badly since, like, I mean, I maybe take it out a little bit, but it's something that I still struggle with. So I'm glad you're there with me too. And Amy should.
Yeah, I'll send you the skin.
Yeah, really, that would be awesome. Well, and now I want to just ask you, and we may have covered it a little bit, but maybe a little bit more specifically. I like to ask, especially since the 2 years actually we've had with everything that's been going on. But a lot of times I like to try to find the silver lining, like what out of all this horrible everything came out that was good. And so I want to ask you, not talking just to this past year or 2 years, but just in your life, had there ever been a situation or something that happened that was so what you thought was so horrible and the worst thing that could happen, and then it turned out to be actually a really good thing?
Yeah, I think, professionally, it was that situation that I mentioned where I walked away from a pretty comfortable job, but I wasn't getting what I needed. And then that caused me to be in New York. And personally, I got my heartbreaks. You just learn a lot from heartbreaks. And the last one I had to take a step back and rethink a lot of things and how I wanted to approach things. And I remember, you often hear people saying, oh, make your list, like make the list of the wants you want and you will manifest it. And I remember making the list, and and I think it got manifested, and it just held me accountable to what I wanted in a relationship, in a life partner, and just me as a person, the energy I wanted to put out. And through that, I actually, met somebody in the pandemic, and we just got married a couple of weeks ago. And so, I think just going back to the holding myself accountable and being confident in what I want has helped me a lot, but it's been a long time coming.
Well, and I love that when you say you put that list together, because you do. I mean, again, you read all these things, people tell you, you hear gurus talking, and what is it, the vision board, that kind of thing. And I have to say, sometimes I'm like, it's a little hokey, but then
Yeah.
also I can see what you're saying. It does make you accountable. It's kind of like, I mean, I'm one of those people who like to check, I write it all down and I check off what I'm doing that day. So why not what you want to do in your life?
Yeah.
So it does make sense. I just, I never really looked at it that way, but,
Yeah.
and I do think we learn when things get the worst, I think we sort of take a deeper look, because you're the only one that can change anything. Like you can't change whatever this person did or whatever the situation was, but you can change how you respond or how you then move forward.
Yeah, and it's giving yourself the space to figure that out. When I had that heartbreak, I kind of went into a hole for 6 or 7 months and really figured it out. And then I was like, okay, like when I'm ready, I'll come back out, and it paid off really well.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And congratulations. So
Thank
when did
you.
you get married?
Huh?
When did you get married?
On the 8th of this month.
Oh my gosh, you're like a total newlywed. I mean,
Yeah,
it's here for that, but you're totally
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
he likes your Indian food. He likes you cooking it for him.
Yes, I'm like leaning into like, oh, let me make you dinner. Like I'm experimenting. He's like, sure, whatever, I'll eat it.
Awesome. Congratulations. I love it. And that's another COVID silver lining. I mean, obviously, I don't know that COVID had anything to do with you guys meeting, but just in general, it's nice to see when good things happen.
Yeah.
During these past 2 years. So, well, anyway, I'm very excited now. I'm like, how to move on here about your husband and everything. All right. Well, this kind of stays with the personal, but obviously you're the melt shop, and now you have to also, I'm taking out two things. I want you to tell me your favorite food or comfort food, but it can't be from the melt shop and it can't be Indian food that you cook. So what is that go-to food, or go-to, even not just, let's say just go-to anything that really it's kind of your guilty pleasure, what you really want to enjoy, whether it be a food or maybe it's watching certain shows, or, I don't know, hiding in a closet and reading or something by yourself, whatever it may be.
Well, the really, really guilty pleasure I have, and I don't do this often, but when I do it, I'm so happy. I love, I'm really into hotels. And so I would do staycations actually here in New York often, and just kind of game the point system. And so I would get free nights, and I just love staying in a hotel. And even if I don't leave and I'm watching the same TV I would watch at home, it's doing that. And then I specifically enjoy M&Ms, with peanuts only from the mini bar at hotels.
Really? So
That's
you
like very
$20
specific.
for your M&Ms just
Yes. I don't ever buy M&Ms except in that situation, and that's the only time I really enjoy it. So that's my major guilty pleasure.
so funny. Hey, so what do you think of the whole changing of the M&M characters with this, now they're wearing lower heels for the girl and sneakers for the one with the boots, and what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for inclusivity, but she was so fabulous. Like the green M&M was so fabulous. Like I just, it's, I've read all the articles and all the mixed feelings, but she really was very fabulous. So I'm bummed out that fabulousness has just been changed. I also love a good heel,
Yeah, and I think that women embrace that. I mean, I don't think a heel, and again, I don't want to get hate letters or any hate emails or whatever. But I think wearing a heel makes you feel more powerful. If and if you don't want to wear a heel, that's fine too. But I mean, it's a personal thing. Like I like to wear boots, and that's with a little bit of a height to them. And I'm tall actually, so I try to keep it not too high because I don't like to be, really tall. But
Yeah.
I think that it just gives you I don't know, just a confidence or something, at least for me. And I
Yeah,
think
I agree.
feel the same way. So
Yeah, and it's hard to walk in heels. If you can master that, you should own it.
yeah, definitely, I agree. So, but yeah, well, they still didn't change your M&Ms though, so you're all set there.
Yeah.
Well, and you sort of brought up inclusivity, and that's something that we have been seeing so much more this past couple of years of people really speaking out about it and people really expecting more from brands, and it's great. I think it's just wonderful, not only in terms of the how people are marketing and what you're seeing on the images, in the ads, but also just bringing it internally within the corporation and trying to hear those different voices. Talk about that in the sense of what is that responsibility as a marketer, working with a brand that is, especially are right out there with all the people. That's your business is. That's who you're representing. How important is it for you to sort of find those opportunities to speak for people who maybe don't have a voice and to be very inclusive within your team and within your company?
I mean, it's extremely important as a woman, as an Indian woman, as somebody who was not born here. I worked hard to get to this position, and I have this opportunity to speak for other women, other immigrants, other people of color. That it's so important, and every opportunity we get handed, we should be doing that and taking. And really, I was given all these opportunities and I've created all these opportunities for myself. It's important to just keep that path going and for others and make sure we are doing whatever we can in our power to make it happen.
Well, as a woman, as you said, a woman of color, woman who wasn't born here in the States, did you come across obstacles when you were first getting started, or even just in your life in general? Were there things that you had to maybe grow a thicker skin or learn to rise above whatever, if you did deal with anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's interesting because I think naively didn't notice it coming up in my career because it wasn't spoken about as much as we're speaking about it now. So I probably, looking back, realized, oh, I actually was in these situations and I was just trying to make my career happen, figure out what I want to do. But looking back, I definitely think there were opportunities where it felt like some of that held me back. And even just something simple as my name, for example. My name is Aarti, and everybody felt very comfortable in calling me Aarti, no matter how many times I've corrected folks. And that's and my name is connected to who I am as a woman, who I am as an Indian woman. And so that was one thing that I let people get away with for a long time. And now I'm like, no, it's actually Aarti. This is how it's pronounced. This is how you say it. And it is a very uncomfortable conversation to have with people to correct them. But I think that's just that one small step has really just helped me. And I think it's just so important. I was lucky in at the Melt, I had our chef who created the whole menu was a woman. So I've been lucky to have women by my side. So in that sense, I've been lucky, but there's definitely, looking back, I think there were a lot of things I just didn't notice naively because I didn't think I could
realize
yeah.
that maybe what they were saying, or maybe how they were even just, saying your name, Aarti, which
Yeah.
I, up the top, I'm like, how do you pronounce your name? Actually, I assumed it was Aarti, and I asked how to pronounce your last, but not, and so you corrected it. But is that an uncomfortable situation, or is it more if I kept continuing to call you Aarti instead of Aarti?
Well, it is an uncomfortable situation. It's one that like I'm still like, because I don't want to offend everybody, but it is like, that is who I am, and it's changing my identity. And I actually from I want to say from second grade to senior year of high school, I went by Aarti because I was trying to figure out who I was as a culture, and who I was attached to my culture. And I wasn't born here, and I wanted my own identity in this country. And so I was like, I'll go by Aarti. And then I realized senior year, I was like, that's not my name. Like, that is not who I am. Like, and that's not what people imagine when they hear Aarti. And so I started going by Aarti, and now I'm doing a better job of correcting people, but it is uncomfortable. But it's actually interesting now. My boss goes out of his way to correct people when he hears it, because I've had a conversation with him about what that means to me. And so I'm working on it, and I think people are getting better about asking and realizing, okay, like, I'm not going to assume that this is how I'm supposed to say this. How am I supposed to say this?
Right. No, and I mean, normally I do ask people in terms of name pronunciations, because even names that seem, Lisa could be Liza, or whatever. It's just that you never know. And obviously yours is much more in tradition, and part of who you are as an Indian woman. But, and my first inclination is to say, I'm sorry that I asked you initially.
Yeah, no.
And okay, shouldn't say, but I do understand when you explain it that way, it makes so much sense that, it represents who you are.
Yeah. And again, these are conversations that I've just or having in the past couple of years. It was just more like, okay, oh, I'm sorry I messed up your name, let's move on to the next thing. But now it's like, oh, what does your name mean, and all of these things, and it's layered. And I think people are just paying a little bit more attention to others and their backgrounds and what they stand for and stuff. So it's, yeah.
And I think that's a key point. It's, we can all look at, my name, even my last name, people have strong feelings about their last name. Maybe it's my name. I mean, although I don't think I would want to change it necessarily, but it's not a lot of history. It's, where some have more meaning to it, or there's maybe their line of, Lisas, or whatever it may be. And that gives it more value, I guess. And I think that's really what we need to see when we hear people saying their names, that all the different people from different backgrounds have these different histories in where their name came from and what it means to them. And we need to respect that more. I think we're doing that more, but I do think it's something that needs to be talked about and continue to do even more so.
Yeah. And it's the one small step that can be very powerful, and just how you respect the person, and I don't think anybody ever does it maliciously. But that's just that moment when even if you've corrected them, it's like when they keep saying it, then you have to step in and be like, that is actually not my name. Here, this is my name. Here's how it's pronounced. I would like it if you used it.
No respect.
But again, it took me till senior year to figure out that is what I wanted. Like, I wanted to go by my name.
Wow. That's it's funny. I mean, and I don't mean to say it as a little thing. I don't mean it that way, but these small, again, the word, but just, it's these little things that they can be so impactful. And you don't realize it. Sometimes, as you said, you don't think they mean anything. Other times, unfortunately, maybe they do. But whatever the reason, I think it's just having this open conversation helps to hopefully move it more forward.
Yeah, definitely.
So, well, I'm glad that you finally spoke up for yourself with that. So
thank you.
All right, well, let's get into something a little more fun before we wrap it up. I'd like to ask, if you could live at any time, during any time, what era would you live in?
Disco.
Disco, really? 70s. I'm going to a 70s party next Friday. So why disco?
Oh, amazing. I love disco music. I love disco balls. I love the outfits. I love everything about that era. Soul Train, you name it. It's like, it's so rooted in like dance and movement and good music and soulful music that like it's just so, we had a housewarming party and we did it all Studio 54 themed, and it was just disco ball. The era, the music just seemed so fun. And, you know, my dad and I would listen to disco together, still listen to disco together. And so I think it's also connected to that I think it would have been amazing to grow up in that time with that music.
So, well, I have to ask though, are you the hippie, straight hair, headband, you know, flower child, or are you the go-go boots and, you know, bell bottoms or whatever? Like which version are you in the 70s?
I think I'm go-go boots and bell bottoms with a touch of like flower crowns. You know, I'm definitely like an ABBA girl, and I know they went through that whole phase. So maybe it's a combination of both.
A little bit of both. Very
Yeah.
cool. All right. Well, I like that. Well, Aarti, thank you so much. I really appreciate you talking with me today and sharing your story. It was really nice to get to know you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Good. And thank you for watching. And hopefully you'll watch us each week and come back. We have someone else, another amazing woman to talk to and sort of go behind the curtains. Again, thank you, Aarti. And, you know, good luck with moving forward with your, you know, speaking up and saying what you need to say.
Thank you.